Hello, 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 and welcome to our very special teachings here at the Shala. Last week we ended with a reading by Annie Dillard on seeing. And I'm going to pick up off that and go a little bit further with this idea of what we see, how we see, and that actually becomes our life. So the last bit of this long, it wasn't long, it was a long quote, but a short part from a chapter. The last line that we read last week was, what you see is what you get. And that being the way we see our life is actually becomes our life. And we're going to unpack that a little bit in our teachings today. But I want to come back to this idea, and T is going to actually put this up so you can see it while I'm talking about it, back to my visual of the lines that kind of squiggle through the middle. This time the lines are green and black. And what do those lines represent? Just so you know, there's people out here besides just me. What do those lines represent? Yeah, so the ones in the middle are actually your habitual patterns. So like the way you hold your body every day, the way you sit, the way you walk, the way you are on the couch, the way you are in driving your car, is all these patterns of how we hold our bodies. And then I didn't have my yellow, so I made it green, and the green represented what you said, your breath, which is also our energy patterns, which are also habitual and oftentimes kind of shallow. And then the other pattern, which I don't have a color for, but that's going to be this coming week as we do it, is there's another habitual pattern for us, and where is that? Body, breath. Yes. Emily pointed to her head, like we get in these patterns in our head, we don't even realize like our habitual body patterns, because they're kind of running us, they're autopilot, right? So we started talking about that, and I drew a great diagram, or someone helped me draw it, of the three people. Every time we come to yoga, we're servicing the three aspects of ourself, which is your physical body, your energy body, but also your mental body, every single time we come here. And the way that we do that is my orange line, the big like swoops that come through, represent what? You know, you will all get this one. What's the orange zone? Yeah, it's out of your normal pattern. So what I call it is possibility. It's opening to new regions. So in our physical body, we're extending our leg, we're opening our hips, we're up dogging. Every single one is opening this region here. And every time I lengthen my spine, that's something I don't do during the day, or I bend my spine, or I strengthen my spine. All those things bring us out of our habitual pattern into these new arenas in our body that are possibility and vibrant health. And that's our energy as well. So we said breathing into it is kind of the pink zone. So we, instead of the habitual patterns of shallow breathing here, now I'm breathing into the pink. And then lastly, and this is what we're kind of talking about this week, the orange in yoga as well is going to help us move into new regions of, what did Emily say? Yeah, so when I talk about this every week, so what happens is you come in here, maybe you're in a little bit of a poopy mood, you do yoga you do your sun salutes, you're feeling a little bit better, you're getting to standing, feeling a little bit better, and by the end of practice, it's like miraculous, you feel better, right? And you feel a little less tweaked, and you feel maybe a little bit more compassion, and that isn't the yoga fairies, that is the science of yoga. And so today, again, I wanted to say this as like we're shifting something when you come here. We're shifting energy. We're doing something different. And our mental patterns as well. If I come here, I could come here and do the same mental patterns I do throughout the day. But yoga is meant to take me into this orange zone. So I have to train myself to actually change what's going on up here when I'm on my mat as well. And so I'm coming back again to saying this phrase that I've been using for the last semester is move your furniture, right? Shift it around, shift the way we normally do things. We have to really consciously do that and train ourselves and make practices around doing that, or things stay the same. And when things stay the same, they get stagnant. When things stay the same, they get stuck. When things stay the same, we get cobwebs up here, and mold starts to grow in places, and So we bring this breath, this pink of fresh air into all this new movement here and new movement here as the point of our yoga practice. So in particular this week, I wanted to focus on a region that gets neglected or shut down or not serviced. And I talk about it all the time, but that region is in the Vayu, speaking from the Vayu point of view, which is the currents, is this region here. What is this current referred to, or this region of my body referred to? Prana. So this is the prana area of my body, and then this area of my body here is what? Udana. I always remember like the Japanese noodle. Udon. It's udana, all right? So during the day, so you'll see this little, the stick figures I made. I think my drawings are really improving, don't you think? So it was on Saturday night. I've been thinking about the Tingshin because a lot of times I do my last preparations on Saturday. And at 3 o'clock in the morning, I woke up wanting to draw stick people. And I just woke up with this visualization of, do you remember this? I think they were photographs actually, but sometimes they come as drawings, like the primitive man drawing, where it's like primitive man with like all this hair and stuff. And then the next dude has a little less hair and he's a little taller. And the next dude is, you know what I'm talking about? I don't know what you call that, but that is like this evolution. Thank you. What do they call that? So I had my own like epiphany of evolution, which is the modern day man doesn't have a lot of hair or whatever of him now, but modern day man is like this. He's shrunk because of the devices, because of the driving, because of the computers, because of the way we live in boxes or whatever it is. Modern day man is kind of hunched forward. And to me, this is the areas that aren't getting serviced then is this chest region, the bigger region of the shoulders and the throat. And what do we know from our practicing of yoga, basically the chakras? What is housed here emotionally? Anybody want to say? So if this area is not being serviced, I can tell you that this is where we feel inadequate, we shrink, we feel afraid, we feel angry, we feel we need to protect ourselves. A lot of things of here is not feeling like I have a voice. And interestingly enough, when we get into my plan for us all, we can talk about this other region here, which is my psoas muscles. I talk about a lot, my hip flexors, where it actually connects to my hip, right? So it runs basically from here all the way up through here is that psoas muscle, the iliacus, we call that the iliopsoas. And what is housed here? So I'm talking about emotions, yeah. So here is a lot, what we understand now is that this is where we house anger and a lot of fear. Those are two major things that you think we get, we take it in the heart, we take it in the gut, we take it in the shoulders, but one of the major places we hold anger and fear in our body is in these two large muscles and where they connect here. And so when these regions are shut down and they're not serviced, things get held there and they don't get flushed out. There's no wind, there's no current to flush it out. So they get more and more solid, more and more stuck, more and more stagnant. So yoga, what we're about to do today in first series is going to open up this region. Every time you reach your arms up in the sun salutes and warriors, every single time you do an up dog, we're going to open up this region. Now, it's not stretching class. So not only are we going to open these two regions here, but now I'm going to breathe deeply into these regions and really push some current around and get some of that stuckness out of there. And then when we stand up tall and we reach long and tall again, these psoas muscles are lengthening. And then when we do something like up dog, and I won't move because I promised Tia I wouldn't move. When we do up dog, but you can see in my little goofy diagram here, is those muscles get elongated and stretched. And the more you do the yoga practice, the more we're getting some pink, some movement, and some vayu, some currents moving through these areas that get stuck as well. So I did this little drawing, and I might try it again, because the way I envisioned it at 3 in the morning is not how it exactly turned out. But I saw like modern man, like devices here, and then sitting in my green chair, you know, here, right? And then I come to yoga class and I do up dog, and I breathe into it. And I do up dog and I breathe into it. And I do up dog and I breathe into it. And then by the end of class, I've opened up so much that I do this thing called backbend. I mean, where else in your life are you doing that full range of motion from being rounded this way throughout life, like we wake up at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, you know? All of a sudden we have this practice where we're going to lengthen and open everything up, and we get into backbends. And not only, think of the animal kingdom. Not only am I opening and making myself completely vulnerable and opening this up wide, but I'm stretching these muscles and I'm exposing my genitals and my groin area, and I'm completely open and exposed to the fullest way possible. So have you ever seen like a dog when they love you and they're happy to see you and they trust you and they just roll around on their back and their legs are open and they're rolling around, and that's just a sign of like full-on love and trust and connection. Because otherwise the animal kingdom knows, like, we do this. Humans, we know we protect and we do this. So yoga, in actuality, if we want to look at the three bodies again, the physical body, the energy body, the emotional body, every time I come to yoga, it makes sense, doesn't it? I'm opening up to love. I'm opening up to forgiveness. I'm opening up to being more courageous. I'm opening up to being more expansive version of myself. I'm more vulnerable. All of this is what, in here that I let go of fears and things, I start breathing, all of that just makes sense. That is one of the greatest gifts of yoga to us, is without any thinking process, just the quieting the mind. As I talked about, the cricket on the mountain that reminds us that we're in silence. The breath on our yoga practice reminds us that we are deep in silence here. Sometimes I think coming into backbends and stuff, we realize how much we spend our life closed and forward and shut down when we breathe in here and open up wide. So I'll finish with our quotes this week, which I just started with wanting this word to be in everyone's mind, shifting. Shifting things here shifts how we see and how we see the world, and whether we see the world as this good, happy place or as a scary, crazy place. So I said, again, it's moving furniture. How much time do I have?
1 minute and 30 seconds.
Wow. Okay, so really quick. There's a story of this person I really care about, and I overheard her on her phone when I was having my peaceful time, and she was really mad at someone because they hadn't have any way she bounced a check. And so when I listened to her, I thought, even if she was speaking in a foreign language I didn't know, I would know what she was saying, because she was so angry and she kept cursing and saying, people are so stupid. People are so stupid. I can't wait to get away. I just need to get away because people are so stupid. And I was just observing it and going, that is such a choice. And every day of our life, there's a million little choices like that, where we have a choice to either see something in a way that is compassionate. Everyone bounces a check. See things in a way that's like, they didn't mean to do that. Or see things in a way that creates anger, resentment. Every day there's a million little choices like this one. And this is one of the greatest gifts our yoga practice gives us, with all this stuff I'm talking about, opening and breathing, is it gives us this amazing way to choose how we're going to see things. So our quote for this week has a picture that goes with it of a dandelion that has dried up, the little fluffy dudes. And there's just, how many words is this? 6 words. Very powerful words that go with the dandelion. Some see a weed, some see a wish. So my question to everyone this week, and to myself, what do you see? What do you spend your days seeing? Because what you see becomes your reality. John O'Donohue said, each of us is responsible for how we see, and how we see determines what we see. Namaste.